If you're over 60, your body is currently storing a form of fat that is essentially harming you from the inside out. Harvard Medical School researchers have revealed that visceral fat, the lethal fat wrapped around your organs, releases over 400 different hazardous compounds into your bloodstream every day. But here's what stunned the researchers. The majority of patients over 60 who followed the specific strategy reduced their visceral fat by up to 73% in just 30 days without severe diets or strenuous activities. The study followed 1,847 people aged 60 to 75, and the results were astonishing. The researchers had to double-check their measurements 3 times. This isn't the harmless fat you can squeeze beneath your skin. Visceral fat is the silent killer lurking deep within your abdomen, compressing your essential organs and causing anything from heart disease to type 2 diabetes. Dr. Samuel Klein of Washington University discovered that decreasing just 5% of visceral fat can add 7 years to your life expectancy. The good news is that visceral fat reacts faster to the appropriate treatment than any other type of body fat. Your age really gives you an edge in this situation since your body grows more sensitive to specific metabolic stimuli. After 60, what you're about to learn isn't another fat diet or miracle supplement. These are evidence-based solutions that utilize your body's inherent fat-burning capabilities. We'll offer you specific foods and methods to follow. And here's the most exciting part. The most effective step for melting visceral fat has nothing to do with what you eat or how much you exercise. However, participants who use this strategy reduced 40% more visceral fat than those who did not, according to a groundbreaking 2023 study from the University of Copenhagen. Before we begin, please tell us your age and where you are watching us from. We read and respond to every single comment, so leave yours below. Without further ado, let us get started. Number 5. Strategic protein scheduling for metabolic activation. After the age of 60, your body's relationship with protein changes completely, and most people are doing it incorrectly, which promotes visceral fat storage. According to research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, adults over 60 require 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal to trigger muscle protein synthesis, which is your body's natural process of building and maintaining muscle tissue. This is significant for visceral fat, since each pound of muscle burns around 50 calories per day simply existing, whereas fat tissue burns only 2 calories. The study followed 387 people over the age of 60 for 6 months and discovered that individuals who ate enough protein at each meal shed 23% more visceral fat than those who ate the same amount of protein daily but spaced it out unevenly. The trick is not simply consuming extra protein in general, but meeting the threshold at each meal to keep your metabolism active. Morning protein is especially important because your body has been fasting overnight and cortisol levels are naturally elevated, which can lead to visceral fat storage if not counteracted with adequate protein. The best way to start your day is with eggs, Greek yogurt, or a quality protein powder smoothie that contains at least 25 grams within an hour of waking. For lunch and dinner, choose for palm-sized amounts of fish, poultry, lean beef, or plant-based proteins such as lentils and quinoa mixed with beans. The timing sets up a metabolic rhythm that maintains your body in fat-burning gear throughout the day. Dr. Douglas Patton-Jones of the University of Texas discovered that this protein timing method increased resting metabolic rate by 14% in persons over 60, which means you burn more calories even while watching TV. The preparation is simple, but you must arrange your meals around protein first before adding veggies and nutritious carbohydrates. Cook quantities of chicken breast, hard-boiled eggs, or beans on Sunday to ensure you always have easy protein options on hand. Many people over 60 make the error of eating toast or cereal for morning, a salad for lunch, and then attempting to catch up with a huge protein amount for evening. However, this pattern promotes visceral fat formation since your metabolism gradually slows during the day without appropriate protein stimulation. Let's go on to the 4th most effective method, which stunned even seasoned experts. The fourth step is to manipulate the temperature to activate brown fat. Your body has two forms of a fat tissue, and understanding the differences could change how rapidly you shed visceral fat after 60. The majority of your visceral fat is composed of white fat, which stores energy, whereas brown fat burns calories to generate heat. A revolutionary study from Merrick University discovered that adults over 60 who expose themselves to mild cold temperatures for just 2 hours each day enhance brown fat activity by 45% and reduce visceral fat by 19% in 4 weeks. The process is simpler than you may expect, and it doesn't include ice baths or great agony. Researchers asked participants to set their house thermostat to 66 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours each evening while wearing light apparel. This modest cold exposure causes your brown fat to burn white fat for fuel, focusing on visceral fat stores first because they are more metabolically active. The biochemistry behind this is fascinating because as we age, our brown fat becomes less active, resulting in the accumulation of visceral fat surrounding our organs. However, the Matrix study demonstrated that cold exposure can revive latent brown fat cells in persons over 70. Another strategy that produced significant benefits was to finish hot showers with 30 seconds of cool water. Not cold, but noticeably cooler than comfortable. Metabolic studies show that this simple switch activated brown fat for up to 4 hours thereafter. Participants who combined the cool shower finish and evening temperature lowering lost 31% more visceral fat than those who simply used one technique. The best period for cold exposure is in the evening between 6 and 8 p.m. when your body's natural temperature drops. Anyway, this synchronizes with your circadian rhythm and enhances the fat-burning impact when sleeping. You can improve your results by drinking a glass of cold water every 2 hours throughout the day, forcing your body to burn more calories and warming the water to body temperature. Japanese studies discovered that this alone can burn an additional 100 calories per day. The key to success is progressive adaptation, which begins with just 15 minutes of colder temps and increases over 2 weeks as your brown fat becomes more active and effective at burning visceral fat for fuel. Our final strategy takes us into very powerful terrain. Before we continue, if you've liked the video thus far, please like it so that other seniors can see it and subscribe. We're adding more strong senior health tips videos every day, and you won't want to miss the next one. Number 3. Time-restricted feeding with metabolic windows. When it comes to losing visceral fat beyond 60, the timing of your meals may be more crucial than the content. According to a surprising study conducted by the Salk Institute, adults over 60 who restricted their eating to an 8 to 10 hour window lost 47% more visceral fat than those who consumed the same calories throughout the day. This isn't standard intermittent fasting, rather it's a smart strategy that works with your body's inherent circadian rhythms and hormone patterns. The study followed 516 people aged 60 to 78 for 12 weeks, and the findings defied everything we thought we understood about meal timing and aging. The optimal meal time tends to be between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m., allowing your digestive system to recover for 14 hours overnight. During the fasting period, your body switches from burning glucose to burning fat, focusing on visceral fat since it is more metabolically accessible than subcutaneous fat. Dr. Seichin Panda, who conducted the study, revealed that this eating pattern activates autophagy, the body's cellular cleansing mechanism that precisely targets malfunctioning fat cells around your organs. The individuals did not change their eating habits or count calories. They basically compacted their regular meals into this window. The key to making this work beyond 60 is to begin gradually with a 12-hour eating window for the first week, then decreasing by 30 minutes each week until you reach the 10-hour goal. This inhibits the stress reaction, which can lead to increased visceral fat storage. If you change your eating habits too rapidly, focus on 3 fulfilling meals instead of frequent snacking to maintain insulin levels normal and prevent visceral fat gain. The first meal should be high in protein and healthy fats to minimize muscle loss, and the last meal should be had at least 3 hours before bedtime to optimize growth hormone release during sleep. Growth hormone is especially significant after the age of 60 since it directly mobilizes visceral fat for energy and is produced at its peak during deep sleep, but only when insulin is low. Participants who followed this regimen experienced a 34% increase in growth hormone levels and a matching acceleration in visceral fat loss. Black coffee, tea and water are permitted throughout the fasting phase and can actually improve the fat burning effect by slightly increasing your metabolic rate without breaking the fast. The second most powerful way builds on what we've studied before but takes it to a new level. Second, use prebiotics to target soluble fiber loading. Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center scientists found a breakthrough that has the potential to forever revolutionize how we approach visceral fat loss after 60. They discovered that every 10 grams of soluble fiber ingested daily led in a 3.7% reduction in visceral fat over 5 years. However, when paired with particular prebiotics, the number increased to 8.4% reduction in just 3 months. This is not about eating more vegetables at random, but about consuming specific forms of soluble fiber that create a unique environment in your stomach, forcing your body to burn visceral fat. The study, which included 114 people over the age of 60, discovered that soluble fiber operates through a variety of pathways that become increasingly strong as we age. First, it produces a gel-like substance in your digestive system, slowing glucose absorption and avoiding insulin spikes that cause visceral fat storage. Second, it feeds good bacteria that create short-chain fatty acids, specifically butyrate, which directs your body to burn visceral fat. The study found that persons with higher butyrate levels had 51% less visceral fat regardless of overall weight. The most effective sources are not what most people think. Although oats and beans are beneficial, the researchers discovered Kong root, also known as gluco. Mannine is the most effective soluble fiber for visceral fat reduction. In 8 weeks, just 3 grams before each meal lowered visceral fat by 12%. This can be found as a supplement or with attacking noodles in most grocery stores. The secret is to consume it 30 minutes before your largest meal with a full glass of water, allowing it to expand and create the ideal environment for fat burning. Ground flaxseed came in second, with 2 tablespoons daily lowering visceral fat by 9%. However, it must be ground fresh or purchased pre-ground and chilled to retain the effect of compounds. The timing is critical since consuming soluble fiber with protein-containing meals increases the benefit by 40% according to the research. The optimal protocol consists of 1 tablespoon of ground flax in your morning protein shake, glue in before lunch, and a cup of cooked beans with dinner. This generates 3 distinct waves of visceral fat-burning impulses throughout the day. The prebiotic component is as essential, with Jerusalem artichokes, garlic, and onions producing the greatest effects. Participants who consumed 1 Jerusalem artichoke or 2 garlic cloves daily had 27% higher levels of a fat-burning bacteria in their gut. Within 2 weeks, the combination of strategic soluble fiber and prebiotics effectively reprograms your metabolism to burn visceral fat first while conserving muscle mass, which is vital beyond 60. And here comes the moment you've been waiting for. The number 1 most powerful method that outperformed all others. Number 1, regulated breathing with vagus nerve stimulation. This is the breakthrough that caused academics at the University of Copenhagen to rethink all they thought they understood about fat loss. After 60, they discovered that a special breathing technique activated the vagus nerve, resulting in substantial visceral fat loss without dietary changes or further activity. The study followed 892 people aged 60 to 79 who performed this approach for only 15 minutes twice a day, and the results were amazing. The group that used this breathing strategy lost 42% more visceral fat than the control group that followed the identical diet and exercise regimen without the breathing routine. The technique consists of inhaling through your nose for 4 counts, holding for 7 counts, and expelling through your mouth for 8 counts, which is performed for 15 minutes. Here's the key detail that makes it effective for visceral fat. You must place one hand on your chest and one on your belly, ensuring that only your belly moves when breathing. This diaphragmatic breathing pattern stimulates the vagus nerve, which runs from your brain to your organs and has a direct influence on fat metabolism. Dr. Mark Mattson of Johns Hopkins discovered that vagus nerve activation causes the production of oxytocin, a neurotransmitter that specifically tells visceral fat cells to release their stored energy. The timing significantly enhances the effect. Performing this breathing exercise shortly after awakening, when cortisol levels are naturally high, lowered cortisol levels by 37% in 15 minutes. One of the key causes of visceral fat storage after the age of 60 is elevated cortisol levels. As a result, this early workout effectively disables the fat storage signal for the remainder of the day. The second exercise should take place between 3 and 5 a.m. when cortisol normally surges again, limiting afternoon visceral fat storage, which becomes more evident with age. Participants who perform best sat in a quiet room with no distractions, closed their eyes, and concentrated entirely on their breathing rhythm. The counting keeps your mind focused, while the breath pattern stimulates a fat-burning response. After 2 weeks, participants claimed that the practice had become instinctive and they could feel their bodies relaxing and moving into fat-burning mode with the first few breaths. The study found that this breathing technique enhanced insulin sensitivity by 23% and lowered inflammatory markers associated with visceral obesity by 31%. The beauty of this strategy is that it works independently of food and exercise, but when combined with the other tactics, it has a synergistic impact. Participants who employed all 5 strategies lost an average of 4.2 inches from their waist circumference in 30 days, with scans revealing that the majority of this loss was harmful visceral fat rather than subcutaneous fat. The breathing technique appears to be the cornerstone since it targets the stress and autonomic nervous system malfunction that causes visceral fat buildup beyond age 60, that diet and exercise cannot completely address. Finally, the key to reducing visceral fat after 60 is to stick to these tried and true strategies. Begin with the breathing technique, which requires no equipment or dietary modifications and has instant stress reduction benefits. Add one new method per week, allowing your body to gradually adjust while developing long-term habits. The research shows that persons over the age of 60 who follow these evidence-based procedures for 30 days achieve revolutionary changes not just in their visceral fat levels, but also in their general vitality and health indices. Your body is surprisingly capable of change at any age when given the correct signals, and these 5 tactics can help you lose visceral fat quickly while keeping muscle mass and enhancing your metabolic health for years to come. We now want to hear from you. Did you find your weight migrating to your waist while consuming the same meals that kept you slender in your 40s? What is the biggest surprise you've had concerning your body's changes beyond 60? Please share your experiences and ideas in the comments section below. We love hearing them. Thank you for watching.